guys, welcome to Table Flippin' Board Games. We're really excited to be here, and we hope you're having a happy Christmas or holidays or whatever you are celebrating. We are here with a super special episode. It's going to be a short one, but we'll talk about what we're going to be doing for that really soon. I'm going to introduce everybody. I'm Gillyweed, and when I introduce you guys, I want you to say one thing that you got for Christmas. We just did our big Christmas Eve dinner, and we opened presents on Christmas Eve. So one thing that I got some adult coloring books. I got a Game of Thrones one and some colored pencils, and I am super pumped about that. You guys can make fun all you want.
I just realized how ridiculous that sounds when you're introing it, so...
I love coloring books. Oh, no, not like... They're like complicated. No.
NC-17.
No.
Oh, no.
They're like, you know, they're the images are, for
Someone
me,
take your shovel!
Anyway, just, you know, they're
They'll
really
edit
pretty
this out in
pictures.
post.
That's fine. Okay.
That's fine.
My jerk co-host who just ruined my intro and ruins most of the games that we play is Ogre Yonder. What'd you get for Christmas, Ogre? One thing.
I got this thinking clay right here,
Nice.
which I'm presently engaged in
Adult
using.
silly putty.
Adult silly putty. But I also got a Roomba, so
Yes.
I'm particularly excited about that.
It's also a gift from me
It is.
because
Nice.
it's less sweeping. We also have our co-host Game Face Killa.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Hey.
He's got his awesome. Can you see his Christmas sweater? Oh yeah.
Santa
Game of
Claus,
Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
Santa Thrones.
What about you?
I got a really cool Star Wars Bounty Hunter rule book, or I guess biography. I was thinking rule book games. Got lots of games, of course. But I got a really cool biography for Boba Fett, which is awesome. He's one of my favorite Star Wars characters, so very excited about that. And it's in a really cool case that you have to have a special data card to unlock. So it's awesome.
That makes
Yeah, it was
sounds.
cool. It was very cool.
Mhm.
And our guest this week is Joe Foes, Game Face Killers and I's other brother. How's it going? Yeah? Holidays? Happy New Year?
Good. Good to be here.
And what about you? What's something you got for Christmas?
Gift cards.
Short and sweet.
Adult
Simple.
gift cards.
Adult gift cards.
Adult gift cards.
I hate you guys so much. Well, anyway, we've been doing a pandemic month, and we've been playing a whole bunch of games that have the pandemic mechanic, including Pandemic itself.
Yes.
And we are finishing our Pandemic series with an unboxing. Whoa! Of Pandemic Legacy, which is the newest, I believe.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Sorry. I'm too busy groping.
He's demonstrating adult pandemic legacy.
Gosh, take everyone out! Everyone out of this game. Alright, so Pandemic Legacy is a little bit different than Pandemic. We know nothing about this, but what the plan is there are some like spoiler type things. So we're going to do an unboxing this week. And then next week we're going to have some spoiler-free review for you guys.
Right.
So you still can get some ideas about the game and where it's different, especially when it comes to Pandemic, but without giving anything away.
Right.
So
Because it's a very special kind of board game that you
Right.
you change as you go through it.
right.
So,
Yeah.
you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so there's a really cool, if any of you are familiar with Risk Legacy, they did this first with Risk. So it was basically the Risk game, but then they added a campaign mechanic to it that has a story arc that you discover as you play it. So you play a game and it'll reveal part of the story. So you'll get like chapter 1 and you'll play a game with the rules for chapter 1. And then after that's over, you might have done some permanent changes to the game. And some characters might change, or in Risk, some races or countries that you're playing, will have changed permanently. And then as you go to play Chapter 2, the story continues and gets further on. So if we were to tell you what's happening in the story, that might actually ruin some of it. So it's got a really cool story built into the campaign. So, but what's really awesome is a lot of the stuff we can tell you and show you in the box are some of the components that would get you really excited about the idea of playing it, hopefully, but without giving you any of the spoilery information that might ruin it for you and ruin some surprises as you're playing it. So, yeah.
So, are we going to go over maybe some of the differences?
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Well, yeah. I don't know anything about it, but I know you don't want to give spoilers away, but my concept of board games is each game's different.
Right.
So, without saying it, I mean, what could be ruined? Isn't everybody's experience going to be different?
So it is. So what happens is, in like say for instance in Risk Legacy, if you were to play, and I don't think I'm ruining anything because I've never played it, but from what I've heard is like let's say you're playing along and a certain country gets taken over, then maybe that country gets blown up permanently, and so no one can then go into that country, and you would put a sticker over on the board that would no longer allow people to go into that country for every subsequent game in the campaign that you would play.
So that's written in the country. It's not like a random roll the die, and this is the country you lose, and then some other person rolls the die, and it's a different country.
Right. So two people could be playing different games, or two groups could be playing different games, and one country gets blown up in this game, and a different country gets blown up in this game, because it just depends on which country was taken over.
But
But
the
in
spoiler
both
might
of
be-
the spoiler is that something gets blown out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the
No
actual
one
actions
knew
that occur along the
country
way.
got blown up. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things in this game that's interesting is, and this will be the first component we can look at that does cause a permanent change in the game. This is the sticker sheet that comes with it, and as you can probably not close enough to ever see,
Yeah, I can try to hold it up.
if you'll notice on the bottom row, there are panic level stickers. So every time this game changes the pandemic game, because now you have to worry about outbreaks happening too often. The first time they happen in a city, panic level in that city raises to 1
Mhm.
permanently, which means you take the sticker off and put it on the board, and that city has now a level panic 1 for the rest of the game, for the whole rest of the year.
Dang.
And then if it outbreaks again, it gets level 2. Now level 1 is just like, okay, we're a little nervous here. It's in our backyard, but it's nothing big.
Mhm.
But as soon as you get to level 2, how that changes the game is you can no longer have, if there's any research stations in that city, and I'm not really ruining anything, it's in the basic rulebook.
Mhm.
If there's any research stations in that city, they blow up permanently from the,
Wow.
if you had one there, it's gone. And you can no longer build one in that city. If you move to panic level 3, you can't even get into the city without spending a card out of your hand, discarding a card, because it's so hard to get into cities
Oh,
at such a level
wow.
of panic. At level 4, you have to discard, at level 4 or 5, you have to discard 2 cards just to get into the city. So it becomes,
That's so
so, and then this is where the game is different. So if one group plays, there could be several cities in Europe that grow in panic,
Mhm.
but in another person's game, it's America that constantly goes crazy, depending on
Okay.
how the
like what you
randomization
drew.
of the randomization of the infection deck, right?
Okay.
So so this makes it a really big metagame. Like we can't let outbreaks happen too much in certain places because this
Yeah.
place is already at level 2 panic.
Mhm.
So we got to try to protect this city. So it's really awesome in that regard and very terrifying too. There's also some other really cool changes like for example, if you build a permanent research station, that's at the end of the game you can build permanent research stations and add those stickers to the board. So every time you start a new game, that city gets a research station to
cool.
begin with.
Hmm.
But then of course if they move to high level panic, then they're
Mhm.
permanently destroyed.
Oh, interesting.
So you could be building research stations that later get destroyed by the game throughout the campaign, and then building them back, and it kind of goes back and forth, things like that. One of the other things that's really cool is as you're playing the game, I'll let you kind of open this. I opened it kind of already to start it.
Nice.
So this is it's supposed to look like a top secret folder,
Yeah.
but what it has in it is in order to keep the secret for the game so you don't discover things too early as you're playing through the months,
Mhm.
you have a really cool, I call it the advent calendar file, because it has little terrible pieces that as the game progresses, there'll be cards that will say open Windows 6, and so you'll open it and it'll have a new set of rules.
That is like an
change the
advent
game.
calendar.
Yeah. And see,
Advent
there's
calendar
even
of doom.
there's
Yeah.
even spaces in the rule books to add new rules that
Oh,
come
holy
up as
cow.
you're playing.
That is a ton.
Yeah, there's a ton of these.
Yeah.
They're all numbered differently.
Yeah.
I've got up to 38.
This has
over here.
47.
Wow.
And as you're playing the game, there's even stickers that you will insert into the rule book as rules change, so you
Oh,
permanently
and they come out of
remember.
this?
Oh,
Yeah,
so it
they'll
actually
come out
just
of these
changes the
windows.
rules of the
Oh,
game.
that's
Jeez.
neat.
Wow,
It's
that's
like
cool.
Flux kind of
Yeah.
rule changing.
It sounds like a law.
This is pretty
And
cool.
you're gonna play it
Oh
all.
my god.
The other thing that's awesome is there's characters, just like in Pandemic,
Mhm.
but what's really awesome is in between games you can upgrade your characters to
Oh
give them
my God,
another
the character
special power.
progression?
Yeah.
Nice.
They can also develop relationships with other characters, and so that gives them benefits and things. They can also get, so they can get lots of upgrades. Unfortunately, they also have the ability, if they're in a city with an outbreak, to get a scar, which is like a permanent disadvantage for the rest of the game, for the rest of the whole year that you're playing.
Oh, jeez.
And if they get a third, so they can get a second one too, but if they get a third, you actually have to tear the character up and can never use that character again.
That's
They're
Sucks.
lost forever.
Wow.
Do you play the same character every time, or can you
No,
play
you can
different
pick
ones?
different ones.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can pick every time you play, every month you play.
Mhm.
How it works is you set up a game, and it's very similar to Pandemic, how you set it up. And you play the game. If you lose the game, you still get character upgrades, which is awesome.
Mhm.
But the game resets, and you get to play that game one more month, one more try at that month if you lose. If you win, you just go on to February. But if you lose, you get one more chance to play January, and then you have to move on.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you lose twice,
Yeah. What
are there some
happens?
giant detriment to moving on to the next month?
No, as a matter of fact, you have a lot more benefits to losing because you get these upgrades between every game, even if you lose. So if you think about it, if you lose 2 games, if you win 1 game, you go automatically to the next month. So you only got 2 upgrades.
So we should lose.
But if you lose
The
the first one, you get 2 upgrades. Plus, if you win the second one, or lose the second one, either one, you get another 2 upgrades. So you actually have the potential in 1 month to get 4 upgrades. But if you win the first month,
Then you
you
just
only
go
get
right to
2.
the second.
Yeah.
So, is this game designed to actually play once a month then, or like twice if you lose it the first time, or can you play it just as many months as you want?
You mean like actually play it?
Yeah, so that it's like in real time almost.
You could. I mean, you could meet once a month and play it.
Yeah.
Like you could play January and January.
That's cool.
And the games are so fast that you could easily play it
Yeah.
in a couple hours evening.
Yeah.
But it gets so addictive that you want to keep playing months after a while. But one of the things that's cool is that there's a calendar you keep track of, and if you lose a game, your funding actually goes up. So your funding affects how many event cards you get to put into the deck.
Wow.
So that makes the game easier for you the more you lose. Plus, you get more upgrades.
Oh, people are like, we need to give you more money, so that
Yeah,
you'll actually.
But what sucks is your funding goes down if you win.
Yeah.
So you get
Well, hey,
less
that's-
event cards.
That's like the opposite of the XCOM board game.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's like,
that's
oh, you guys
yes.
are getting overrun by aliens. Let's go ahead and cut your funding.
Yeah, let's go.
So I
let's
like
go
that.
ahead and
I
make
like that.
sure that you're in
Yeah.
fact going to lose this game.
Yeah.
That game is the worst.
And some of the upgrades are amazing. Like you can upgrade your characters. Obviously, you can put stickers on city cards
Mhm.
that allow you to use city cards as the city card or an event card. And then there's
Oh,
other awesome
cool.
upgrades, like you can mutate viruses that are out there so that they're easier to cure from then on for the rest of the game.
So
for the rest of the year.
is the actual gameplay of this game base Pandemic, or is it like in the lab, or?
It's very much base Pandemic, although as it goes on,
Oh yeah,
there's some differences.
stuff might happen.
Shh.
I don't know. I haven't played it. I can't spoil anything.
Spoiler alert.
But one of the things you'll notice that really makes the story of the game is there's a deck called the Legacy deck. And that is going to be permanently, you don't want to look at this or look ahead or anything like
Stop.
that. This is going to tell you the story. It's going to tell you when to stop at the beginning of a month or at the end of a month. And so different things will happen as a surprise in the story based on this deck. And it'll
Cool.
add new rules in, new things. It'll tell you when to open those windows in the advent calendar, or put stickers on, that kind of thing. But everything else is pretty similar to regular Pandemic. Like it's got the cubes, it's got the diseases, the outbreaks, everything else. And what's really cool is they actually explain to you, if you've never played Pandemic before, how to play as a new player. They
That's
tell you which rules to
nice.
leave out. So they definitely recommend playing as a few practice rounds before you get started. And if you guys remember, we played with 5 epidemics
Yeah.
when we played our game of Pandemic, and I told you there was a reason
And they're
why.
like,
That's because every game in Pandemic Legacy you play with
No.
5 epidemics.
no.
It's like second to hardest difficulty.
Yes.
Right?
No, why?
I love it. I love it.
Then
You
can-
would. Why don't you like ghost stories? You always like playing on the hard mode.
I do like Ghost Stories okay, but it feels like so much of this is just none of this is in my control. Is what Ghost Stories feel like.
I
It's
can
just
see that.
what comes up. I like Ghost Stories alright. I think it's really interesting that there's almost a benefit. You almost want to lose every month to build yourself up in the long run,
Yeah.
which is going to be really hard for me because I don't know how to
But
lose.
you do get a bonus.
I don't
You guys have
lose.
seen my work in Arkham.
You do
Oh,
get a
the losing, that's not something that I do.
At the end of a month, if you win a game,
Mhm.
then you get a bonus for the next game. So there is an incentive
Oh, for like
to
the
win.
very next game.
So there is
not
that.
the next month.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say
Um,
you should just lose
Yeah.
the first month.
The other thing that there is that makes it a little bit different, there's these nice little boxes that at some point during the game you'll open up. They contain new player parts as you're playing the game, which is really cool.
Like what?
I can't
So it
spoil
can't
it.
say?
Secret, yeah,
New
there's
player
secret boxes.
parts.
Like,
Well,
so
you know-
like
big.
an arm.
Well, you know, they're boxes, so they have to be
Fell
like
off, you know.
pieces, maybe
Oh.
3-dimensional things.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that is kind of a lot of space for stuff.
I asked
Open package if you lose 4 games in a row.
It was already kind of torn.
Okay.
I asked you this earlier in the day off camera, but you were talking about putting the stickers on the board.
Mm-hmm.
You said those are
Place where-
permanent. Those
Yep.
stay on there. But so if you decide to start Pandemic Legacy completely over, wouldn't you want those stickers to come off because different things may happen
So-
in the other year?
So the trick is that first of all, there's a couple things that's kind of strange that I think they're going to answer this question. You can't take the stickers off because when you're done with the game, you have a playable game of Pandemic.
Mhm.
So it's not like you play the game and you're done at the end of December. You can keep playing the game after that, but you have to play with the board you created throughout that year
You're
of
just stuck
playing.
with it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so you're stuck with that. So if you want to play another year over, well, you can. You just have to buy another.
That's the way the world is.
Yeah.
It's like year
Yeah.
2 maybe.
But you have to rebuild, or you have to buy another copy of the game.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting though is if you look at the cover of the box, it says Season 1.
Ooh. Bum, bum,
So,
bum.
I'm wondering if that
That'd be cool.
means
That'd be cool.
there's going to be a box eventually coming out that will continue the story with your same board.
Whatever
that
happened
That's
before.
cool.
That's probably the stickers then.
That'd be
Right,
Right.
right.
Awesome.
The other thing
Awesome.
that I wanted to mention that's really cool, as the game goes on, this is the objective section. So you may have more to do eventually than just curing diseases.
Oh,
You may have
God.
additional objectives. And if you'll notice
Wow.
along
There's
the
enough to
bottom,
But you have beefed up people, right? So like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's true.
if you notice along the bottom, on certain months you have to complete more than one objective. So what's difficult is sometimes you're
Alright.
doing multiple things at the same time. It can make it tough.
That could be interesting.
Whew, intimidated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it seems
I'm
pretty
excited.
awesome. Yeah,
I'm really
ready to get
excited.
started.
So yeah, I think the plan is first of all, do you guys have any other questions?
I think I asked everything that I could now.
I guess my
Without
only
money.
recommendation, if you do like this game a lot, I do highly recommend it. It's very complicated, so make sure all of you know Pandemic rules really well, because otherwise it could be very confusing. Once you start playing the game, it gets a little more complicated. You want to make sure everybody reads the new rules. If there's new rules that come up, make sure that you really understand them, because I've already messed up several games.
And
Whoops.
it's hard. I'm sure it's very hard to be a rule master.
Yeah, but it's not bad. It's not hard. They even give you a way of going back and fixing it if you messed up. They basically say just
that's
decrease your funding level the next game if you cheated and you
If
didn't
you
need
actually
to. Yeah. So it's pretty cool, but it will happen if you're not really careful and read the rules. It's pretty particular, but if you talk through it, make sure everybody understands it, then you should be able to avoid that. So
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like maybe you should not. Like if
Not
you just
start
have
with this.
one person, if you just have maybe one person who knows the game, like wait until you have more people
yeah,
who can like kind of share the load when it comes to making sure that you're share the load when it comes to like making sure that you're keeping on top of the rules.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're really excited to play it. We're gonna play as many months, I guess, as we can while we're all together. It won't be super long. We have apparently some bad weather coming in. So next week will probably be another short episode, but that'll be good anyway because I think it's like New Year's Eve or
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe New Year's Day. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just gonna be another short episode, just a little bit of review of what we've played so far, so that you guys can know that how we're doing on that, and then from there we'll probably resume our regular scheduled programming.
Yes.
cool.
Hope you guys are having some happy holidays. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.